The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, says the armed forces will take a non-partisan stance in the run-up to the 2023 general elections. Irabo said this while featuring at a weekly briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team at the Presidential Villa.
For the 2023 general elections, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, says the armed forces has put in place contingency plans to facilitate the smooth conduct of the elections in conjunction with other security agencies and stakeholders. Irabo says the military will remain neutral and assist the police in monitoring and securing the process.
There will always be pressure from all quarters, wanting to induce security forces, not just the military, security forces, the police. That's what criminal enterprise is all about. That is what something that is wrong is all about. But what makes it different is the professional approach to dealing with those issues, and that's what the military has wanted to do. That's the reason why we have ramped up our training in that regard. Sensitization, and lot of engagement across the formations and units have been undertaken.
Speaking on the ongoing war against terrorism and insurgency, General Irabo says the Nigerian Armed Forces have recorded unprecedented achievements through enhanced force structure, technology, conduct of kinetic and non-kinetic operations, and procurement of new platforms. Some of the achievements include over 300,000 hostages who have been freed from captivity.
To be able to get to where we are within the Northwest, we have to also enhance the force structure to look at the OBA, that is order about to then reshape it, restructure it, which has helped us to make improvement. And of course, we also leverage on technology as part of the assets that the federal government made available to us. We've been able to get a few technology-enabled platforms that has given us greater efficiency in our operations. And of course, enhancing the conduct of kinetic operations, employment of non-kinetic measures also, amongst other strategies that we employ. Yes, please. And then for that reason, over 362 bandits have been neutralized, recovered over 156 AK-47 rifles, and a great number of cache of...
General Irabo says the military personnel are being trained to be more professional, while rules of engagement before, during, and after the elections have been codified and distributed.
All right, joining us to take a look at efforts to ensure a free and fair election in 2023 is the convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, Ene Obi. Thank you very much for joining us.
She's also
tonight.
The country director of
Action Aid. Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Now, when you hear this from the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Irabo, that the military, as a matter of fact, security services usually would, be under pressure to circumvent or compromise the election. Is it telling us what, we don't already know, talking about Nigerians? How do you react to that statement coming from him?
I think the aspect of it that is welcoming for me is for the Chief of Defense Staff to come out openly to say we are under pressure. We are under pressure. We know they are under pressure, but it's good to admit that you are under pressure. And we hope that whatever happens, when you are talking about or when you are dealing with the issues, you'll be able to be open about it as well. The issues of transparency and accountability, and then issues of sanctions to those whom they are arresting, during elections, are things that we have been advocating for. The 2022 Electoral Act has brought forth more penalties or more security for the election itself. Mm-hmm. But what do we do in the end? Because before now we had the penal code, we had the constitution, and so many, legal rights or legal, backing for you to be able to put sanctions. We do still look at the Ekiti election. Some people were arrested. During Oshu election, a few people were also arrested. But has there been sanctions? How has sanctions been? And then when you want to review what has happened from the primaries, we know that during the primaries, there were election, there was a lot of corruption during the primaries. You could feel it, you can almost touch it, but nobody was arrested. A lot of people, talked about being, the primaries being dollarized, where people are not only buying delegates anymore, they are buying candidates. We had all of this. We have the BVN. We have all the apparatus that makes one to be able to know. At the primaries, in all of the primaries, we had the DSS, we have the security people, we have all the arsenal that Nigeria can deploy. We have the telecommunication that will be able to even help you to track certain things, right, if we are willing. So from Nigerians, what the civil society is looking at is, can we really mean this? Can we really go down and sanitize the process and deepen democracy in Nigeria? If the authorities mean it, and people are arrested because we're now going to the national election. Right. It's not like the off-cycle election where you carry the whole security force. You can afford to have even 10,000 or 20,000 police, in one state alone. We have the whole country, and the percentage of the police force that we have. And so we are happy that this is being pronounced, but something needs to be done. And you're also going to the election, you're having some inflammatory statements. You have them on record. You have them on the social media and everywhere that somebody has made a pronouncement. Some people say, we will win this election by hook or crook. You have not arrested that person. If we have things that can affect the First Lady when somebody issues a statement, and then people are issuing statements against the country, against Nigeria, you have not arrested anybody. We need sanctions to be meted, and it's only then that we'll know that something is going to be done. Well, but we are happy about the statement, and we hope that
absolutely
they will work together.
Absolutely,
because they have a big role.
Yeah, because I was just going to come in the Ene to say I think kudos must be given to the Chief of Defense Staff, who of course is echoing or re-echoing the President's directive to the Nigerian military and security agencies to be apolitical, and he is taking his neck to say that there will be no hiding place for criminal elements that are trying, pressure or no pressure, they are not going to balk. I mean,
is that confidence building?
Yeah, are not reassuring enough that yes, the 2023 general elections is going to hold.
Signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah,
I think I really look at it from a positive point that they will mean it. The caliber of someone like the Chief of Defense Staff, when he says something, he means it. We want to see that transcend through the channels down to the community level, where you have people at the field level. For some of the elections that we have observed, we know when INEC officials were hooked up and the army had to open the corridor. They had to rescue them. That was excellent. We do need the security sector to work together. We know that the police are the lead agencies when it comes to elections, but they need to work together. The speed need to match each other on what happens. We need to see that people are arrested. If at this time that the DSS has not arrested anybody because of corruption in elections, through to from the primaries, and then when we're having the vote trading and vote buying, let me tell you, in all of the police stations, you have the security agencies that are there. Some of them are standing there, and you have agents that are standing and overlooking. And what is happening now is that the space has been tightening. INEC is working hard, but we see their ad hoc staff looking at people, and they're voting, and they're just voting by the side. When in the secrecy of the ballot is only when nobody sees you, where you go and do the thumb printing, and then you put it down. But we see that sometimes these things are compromised, and the security can help indeed. I remember the election in Anambra State, where a security man made sure that nobody was close to those who were voting. That was a military man. He stood far and he said nobody will go there, and nobody went there. So the security, they do have a lot of responsibilities. Right. And also the insecurity that is happening, we hope that the progress that is being made by the military will continue, so that we can have a free, credible, and fair election in Nigeria.
Absolutely. And INEC itself, I mean, the election regulator, has every now and again expressed concerns about the 2023 election as far as security is concerned, against the backdrop of the destruction of INEC facilities, across the country. But INEC continues to say, look, we're on top of this. It's not going to deter us. We're going to deliver free, fair elections come 2023. But let's talk about the militarization of our electoral process. Is it not antithetical to the whole idea of democracy, where military presence is still very much there? How much does it say really about where we are democratically?
I think what that is coming from, again, as a citizen, you have a lot of responsibilities. Citizens need to take what it is to be a citizen very seriously. Because if people have to stay around you to ensure that you vote, to ensure that you are able to even monitor the elections, we need to take the quality of citizens very seriously. The issue of civic education has not been properly conducted. We need more civic education all over and political education for the electorate. And this is very, very important. It is citizens that are manning all the processes. It is a citizen that is an ad hoc staff, is a citizen that is a returning officer.
In other words, they are citizens first.
Citizens first. Before
their military,
they need to rededicate themselves from all the strata. It is a citizen that is a police person. And so the quality of everything that you do, the development and deepening of democracy, will be the responsibility of all citizens. We can't leave INEC alone, because when you look at the issue of INEC, the kind of attacks that we're having now, we condemn them. INEC can reassure us, but they are human beings there. And so that's why for the civil society organizations, we're holding them accountable, but we are holding citizens also accountable. Whether you are playing politics or whether party, whichever party you are first a citizen of Nigeria, and you must stand up right for Nigeria, allow the process to be free and fair, and then let voting take place, encourage people to come out, because voter apathy is one of the biggest things that we have had. And we hope that more people will turn out. And then what we are concerned about right now is the time for the PVC collection. We don't want anybody to be disenfranchised. So much as INEC is assuring us, we are worried if the PVCs will get to those who need it, those who are supposed to collect their PVCs, whether they will have their PVCs.
About 20 million remain uncollected.
Yes,
so,
and I think the process has been announced, going to begin about 12th or thereabout of December.
Yes, 12th of December.
Yeah, but what is key here from the Situation Room, talking about the citizens and their responsibility when you score it or underscore it against, the security apparatus that will be put in place, would be the education, like you said, of the voter or that of citizen, which we don't seem to be seeing either from government agencies like the National Orientation Agency, the Ministry of Information at the federal and state levels and the rest. So one would want to ask, as a group of civil society organizations, what kind of outreach are you making to the citizen?
To close that gap.
To close that gap, yeah.
We are currently undergoing our retreat, and that's the last retreat before the 2023 general elections is currently on now. And we are reviewing and reflecting on some of the things that have gone and seeing what we are strategizing on what to do. That's what we are doing for the retreat now. We will do as much education as we can, but we are not government. Right. You have the whole strata of the Ministry of Information. You have the National Orientation Agency, which is lowly funded. They have presence in the 774 local governments. If the government wants you to get it right, because when we were young, they had this giant truck that will be going around the communities to ensure the Land Rovers to ensure that whatever you need to hear, that you will hear it. They come and even show you movies, quick movies to educate you on some of the things, to illustrate how you are going to vote and to do whatever you need to do. They're not doing that now. So why do we have the National Orientation Agency? Why do we have their presence? And they are political scientists in all of the local governments. So what are you telling us? When civic education gets lost from our curriculum, what are we talking about? When history gets lost from our curriculum, what are you talking about? And so it's important that the government commits itself by directly intervening, because we as civil society organizations, we try to look for money so that we can, do a lot of educations, we do a lot of adverts, but there is a limit to it. we need the government to stand tall and inform its citizens and improve its own communication. Right. And also INEC, because they have an aim of voters' education, they need to do a lot more. We need to have everything in place to tell people where they are going to collect their PVCs, because there's a lot of poverty now. You can't locate it only at the local government level and hope that people will come and collect. Half of the PVCs will not be collected when we have so many people below the poverty line now, almost 140 million.
I think, you've situated the point succinctly, and we just hope that those concerned, all stakeholders, are
forgive
listening.
The pun of situating it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ene Obi, convener, Nigeria Situation Room, and country director of Action Aid. So coming to
Thank you for having me.